Hello everyone. We are glad to welcome you back to this month's edition of BookKey. In BookKey, we bring to you top book recommendations under 5 different categories that cater to the tastes of a large audience. These categories are Spotlight, where we discuss recently published books that are informative as well as insightful. Hidden Gem, where we unravel to you rare gem of books lost in the annals of time. The Classic Vault, where we look at the evergreen classics which never lose relevance. The Untold, where we lift the veil on lesser-known stories and facts about popular books and authors. Top 5, where we suggest to you 5 of the best reading choices from the current bestsellers. 2021 has been a blockbuster year for the crypto space, led by buzzwords like metaverse, NFTs, DeFi, which is decentralized finance, scaling solutions, and more. But it wasn't just the crypto lexicon that saw growth. Popular crypto assets scaled all-time highs, institutional buyers went berserk, and countries turned more. Yet, it is very difficult to know whether cryptocurrencies are the currencies of the future or bubbles destined to burst in the short term. Therefore, in our first section, Spotlight, we bring to you the first book that will shed light on this dilemma. Blockchain Bubble or Revolution? The Future of Bitcoin, Blockchains and Cryptocurrencies by Neil Mehta, Aditya Agashe and Parth Detroja. Published by Paravein Ventures, 4.6 stars on Amazon and 4.4 stars on Goodreads. Some experts say that cryptocurrencies and blockchains are just a scam. Others say they are the most important invention since the internet. It's hard to tell who is right. Authored by product managers from Google, Microsoft and Facebook, this book cuts through the hype to offer a balanced, comprehensive and accessible analysis of blockchains and cryptocurrencies. You will learn the core concepts of these technologies and understand their strengths and weaknesses from the real-world case studies. Dive deep into their technical, economical, political and legal complexities and gain insights about their future from exclusive interviews with dozens of tech industry leaders. Bubble or Revolution manages to offer powerful, well-researched insights while remaining accessible to everyone, filling the gaping hole in the market of crypto books. Adi Agashe is a prominent product manager at Microsoft and author of the best-selling technology strategy book Swipe to Unlock. He has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Business Insider, Inc. and more. He works on Azure Cloud Growth Team to build hyper-converged and hybrid features that help customers adopt cloud technologies. Parth Detroja is currently a product manager at Facebook. He has previously worked with Microsoft, Amazon and IBM. He graduated summa cum laude from Cornell University. Neil is a product manager at Google and studied computer science at Harvard University. He worked previously at Microsoft and Khan Academy. Neil founded the Civic Digital Fellowship, the first paid tech internship program in the federal government. Cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 69. The other recommendation under this section is Digital Gold, The Untold Story of Bitcoin by Nathaniel Popper. Published by Penguin, it has 4.6 out of 5 stars on Amazon and 4.2 on Goodreads. Shortlisted for the Financial Times and McKinsey Business Book of the Year award, this book gives a fascinating history of the rise of Bitcoin and teaches the fundamentals of how the cryptocurrency works. Nathaniel Popper is a New York Times technology and business reporter, and in this book, he charts the dramatic rise of Bitcoin and the fascinating personalities who are striving to create a new global money for the internet age. Bitcoin is constantly editorialized. While some write its obituary again and again, others envision its revolutionary future. The author, however, approaches the scene as a curious observer who condenses the passionate voices of Bitcoin visionaries and nemesis into a detailed narrative. He first began covering it when the Winklevoss twins started purchasing large quantities of Bitcoin in 2013. Since then, he has maintained a remarkably objective tone in his reporting. His continued reporting on Bitcoin through the past few years has helped bring Bitcoin saga into mainstream media and equipped him with the experience to write this book, the first of its kind. Nathaniel Popper is a journalist for the New York Times covering finance and technology from San Francisco. He previously worked for the Los Angeles Times, The Forward, and Let's Go travel guides. He graduated from Harvard University in 2002 after studying history and literature. The cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 399. In our second section, The Hidden Gem, this month we have an extraordinary true story which will stay with you for a long time. The Choice, a true story of hope, by Edith Eger, published by Rider, 4.7 stars out of 5 on Amazon and 4.6 on Goodreads. It's 1944 and 16-year-old ballerina and gymnast Edith Eger is sent to Auschwitz. Separated from her parents on arrival, she endures unimaginable experiences. When the camp is finally liberated, she is pulled from a pile of bodies, barely alive. The horrors of the Holocaust didn't break Edith. In fact, they helped her learn to live again with a life-affirming strength and a truly remarkable resilience. The Choice is her unforgettable story. Here is a moving piece of excerpt from her book. If I could distill my entire life into one moment, into one still image, it is this. 3 women in dark wool coats wait, arms linked, in a barren yard. They are exhausted. They have got dust on their shoes. They stand in a long line. The 3 women are my mother, Sister Magda, and me. This is our last moment together. We don't know that. We refuse to consider it. Or we are too wary even to speculate about what is ahead. It is a moment of severing mother from daughter's life as it has been from all that will come after. And yet, only hindsight can give it this meaning. I see the 3 of us from behind, as though I am next in line. Why does memory give me the back of my mother's head but not her face? Her long hair is intricately braided and clipped on top of her head. Magda's light brown waves touch her shoulders. My dark hair is sticked under a scarf. My mother stands in the middle and Magda and I both lean inwards. It is impossible to discern if we were the ones who kept our mother upright or if it is the other way around. Her strength, the pillar that supports Magda and me. This moment is a threshold into the major losses of my life. For 7 decades, I have returned again and again to this image of the 3 of us. I have studied it as though with enough scrutiny I can recover something precious. As though I can regain the life that precedes this moment, the life that precedes loss. As if there is such a thing. I have returned so that I can rest a little longer in this time when our arms are joined and we belong to one another. I see our sloped shoulders, the dust holding to the bottom of our coats. My mother, my sister, me. The Choice weaves Eger's personal story with case studies from her work as a psychologist. Her patients and their stories illustrate different phases of healing and show how people can choose to escape the prisons they construct in their minds and find freedom, regardless of circumstance. Eger's story is an inspiration for everyone, and her message is powerful and important. Your pain matters and is worth healing. You can choose to be joyful and free. The cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 301. Moving on to our next section, the Classic Vault. This month we have an insightful book which has been named as one of the 100 leadership and success books to read in a lifetime by Amazon editors. The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton M. Christensen, published by Harvard Business Review Press, 4.6 stars on Amazon and 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. This book is a profound analysis of why leading companies fail to innovate and ultimately go bankrupt in the wake of disruptive innovation. The Harvard Innovation Management professor begins by distinguishing two different types of technologies: sustaining technologies and disruptive technologies. He suggests that incumbents own their eventual failure to their focused dedication to improving existing operations rather than developing entirely novel offerings, working on fresh value chains, harnessing state-of-the-art technologies and business models. Using the lessons of successes and failures from leading companies, The Innovator's Dilemma presents a set of rules for capitalizing on the phenomenon of disruptive innovation. The book addresses questions like when it is right not to listen to customers, when to invest in developing lower performance products that promise lower margins, when to pursue small markets at the expense of seemingly larger and more lucrative ones. Christensen's work continues to underpin today's most innovative leaders and organizations. His work is cited by the world's best-known thought leaders, from Steve Jobs to Malcolm Gladwell. Sharp, cogent, and proactive, The Innovator's Dilemma is one of the most talked about books of our time, and one no savvy manager or entrepreneur should be without. Clayton M. Christensen is the Robert and Jane Cizik Professor of Business Administration at the Harvard Business School, with a joint appointment in the Technology and Operations Management and General Management faculty groups. He is best known for his study of innovation in commercial enterprises. Cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 732. The other book under this category is an immensely influential ancient book written about 2500 years ago by Chinese general Sun Tzu, The Art of War, Spirituality for Conflict, published by Jayco Publishing House, 4.5 stars on Amazon, 4 on Goodreads, number 6 in military history books.
The Art of War is a poetic and potent treatise on military strategies still in use in war colleges around the world.
Yet its principles transcend warfare and have practical applications to all the conflicts and crises we face in our lives, in our workplaces, our families, even within ourselves. Thomas Cleary, the translator, guides us through Sun Tzu's masterwork, highlighting principles that encourage a perceptive and spiritual approach to conflict, enabling us to prevent conflicts before they arise, peacefully and quickly resolve conflicts when they do arise, act with courage, intelligence, and benevolence in adversarial situations, convert potential enemies into friends, control our emotions before they control us. Insightful, yet unobtrusive, the book explains the subtleties of the text, allowing us to unlock the power of its teachings and help prevent and resolve the conflicts in your own life. The Art of War is a book which should be used to gain advantage of opponents in the boardroom and battlefield alike. Cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 156. In our next section titled The Untold, this month we bring to you a dense and voluminous yet brilliant and mesmerizing book, The Gift by Vladimir Nabokov.
Published by Penguin UK, 4.2 stars on Amazon and 4 stars on Goodreads.
The Gift, which is the last of the novels Nabokov wrote in his native Russian and which is the crowning achievement of that period in his literary career. It is also his ode to Russian literature, evoking the works of Pushkin, Gogol, and others in the course of its narrative. The book narrates the story of Fyodor Godunev-Cherdintsev, an impoverished émigré poet living in Berlin who dreams of the book he will someday write, a book very much like The Gift itself. For most of his life, Vladimir Nabokov was quite literally a man without a country. It is a small irony, then, that his career falls so neatly into national phases: Russian, German, French, and American, plus the protracted coda he spends in a Swiss luxury hotel during his final decade. The Gift, which he wrote between 1935 and 1937 in Berlin, is the grand summation of his second phase. It describes, for starters, the sentimental education of a young Russian writer, Fyodor. This hyphenated creation has more than a few things in common with the author, despite Nabokov's vehement denial in the novel's foreword. The Gift is considered by some the most original, unusual and interesting piece of prose writing of Russian émigré writing and the most difficult of Nabokov's Russian novels. Initially, the complex novel was not successfully received. It was either ignored or criticized as an incendiary attack on Russian literature. A lesser-known other fact about this highly reputed writer is that his last literary work titled The Origin of Laura was published 30 years after his death against his wish by his son Dmitri. In 2009, after years of consideration, Dmitri, who served as executor of his father's literary estate, decided to publish this novel, which Nabokov was frantically trying to finish at the time of his death. Nabokov specifically requested that Dmitri destroy the novel's manuscript, which consists of 125 handwritten index cards, but his son just couldn't bring himself to torch the book. Instead, it spent 3 decades in a Swiss bank vault while Dmitri tried to decide what to do with it. He eventually became worried that what would happen to the manuscript after his own death, so decided to publish the book. The book received mixed reviews upon being published. Cost of the Kindle edition Rs 471. Moving ahead to our last and final section, Top 5, we bring to you our picks from the crossword and Amazon bestsellers across different categories. In non-fiction category, we have Do Epic Shit by Ankur Warikoo. 4.5 stars on Amazon, 3.9 on Goodreads, number 1 in education and self-help for workplace. Ankur Warikoo is an entrepreneur and content creator whose deep, witty and brutally honest thoughts on success and failure, money and investing, self-awareness and personal relationships have made him one of India's top personal brands. In his first book, Ankur puts together the key ideas that have fueled his journey. One that began with him wanting to be a space engineer and ended with him creating content that has been seen and read by millions. His thoughts range from the importance of creating habits for long-term success to the foundations of money management, from embracing and accepting failure to the real truth about learning empathy. This is a book to be read and reread, a book whose lines you will underline and think about again and again. Published by Juggernaut, cost of the Kindle edition is 199 rupees. The second book is Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order, Why Nations Succeed or Fail by Ray Dalio. 4.4 stars on Amazon, 4.5 on Goodreads, number 3 in econometrics and statistics. From the number 1 New York Times best-selling author of Principles and legendary investor Ray Dalio, who has spent half a century studying global markets, The Changing World Order examines history's most turbulent economic and political periods to reveal why the times ahead will likely be radically different from those we have experienced in our lifetimes. Looking back across 500 years of history and 9 major empires, including the Dutch, the British and the American, The Changing World Order puts into perspective the cycles and forces that have driven successes and failures of all the world's major countries throughout history. Dalio reveals the timeless and universal dynamics that were behind these shifts, while also offering practical principles for policymakers, business leaders, investors, and others operating in this environment. Published by Simon & Schuster, cost of the Kindle edition is Rs 717. Next on the list in the fiction category, we recommend yet another great book by Pulitzer Prize-winning author Anthony Doerr, who is also the author of All the Light We Cannot See, which was a recommendation in our last edition. Cloud Cuckoo Land, with 4.2 stars on Amazon and 4.3 on Goodreads, is a New York Times notable book, a Barack Obama favorite, selected as a top 10 book of the year by Fresh Air, Time and Entertainment Weekly, and a Best Book of the Year by Goodreads Choice Awards, the Associated Press, and many more. In Cloud Cuckoo Land, Doyle has created a magnificent tapestry of times and places that reflect our past interconnectedness with other species, with each other, with those who lived before us, and with those who will be here after we are gone. From the 15th century to the future, the 5 protagonists in Anthony Doyle's brilliant book come together astonishingly in the stories they make of their lives, rewritten by time and circumstance. This marvelous book is like an astrolabe or an armillary sphere, a navigation instrument engineered to discover the world. Urgent, rife with relevance and compassion, Doyle's novel affirms the necessity of the made thing, the capacious imagination and storytelling. Published by Scribner, cost of the Kindle edition is Rs 411. The fourth book is Falling by T.J. Newman, 4.3 stars on Amazon, 3.9 stars on Goodreads. Falling is a gripping, fast-paced and an action-packed thriller. Just few minutes after the takeoff, the pilot receives a message from a man who has kidnapped his family, his wife and children are strapped with explosives. The pilot is left with two choices, the impossible choices: crashing the plane full of 143 souls on board into an unknown target and save his family, or let his family be killed by some stranger. Like all good thrillers, Falling gets off to a dramatic start and maintains its momentum. Newman's various narrative strands resemble high-voltage live wires. One tense predicament replaces another, from poison gas attacks to mutinous passengers to orders to kill the co-pilot or shoot down the plane. The suspense is heightened by the fact that the terrorist is not open to negotiation. Published by Avid Reader Press, Simon & Schuster, cost of the Kindle edition, Rs 335. The last recommendation in this category we have The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fannon Jeffers, 4.4 stars on Amazon, 4.6 on Goodreads. A New York Times best-selling novel and Oprah Book Club pick, this book is a breathtaking debut novel that chronicles the journey of generations of one American family from the centuries of the colonial slave trade to our own tumultuous era. The book, by the 2020 National Book Award nominated poet, is not just a multi-generational saga of a family and their strife through slavery, the Civil War, Emancipation Proclamation, and the present day, but it is an ode to the love songs of all those slave families who were separated, mangled, beaten down, raped, lynched, treated like cattle, racially prejudiced. The revered writings of the civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois take center stage, with smatterings of his quotes popping up now and again. Published by Fourth Estate, cost of the Kindle edition is Rs 501. With this, we have come to a close for this month's edition of the BookKey. In our last edition, in our trivia section, we asked you, Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere is set in an underground world of which city? The correct answer is London. Our question for this edition is, the 2020 Nobel Prize in Literature was awarded to a writer from which country? Let us know your answers in the comment section below and we will reveal the answer in our next edition. If you found this video informative, give us a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also subscribe to Endeavor Careers for upcoming follow-up videos. We will be delighted to know if you found our book recommendations informative and interesting. See you next month with more such specially curated recommendations for you. Until then, dream, endeavor, achieve, and happy reading.